Hey guys, welcome back. Today on The Untidy Artist, we're making recycled magazine Christmas ornaments. It's hard to believe these cool ornaments were made out of recycled pages from a magazine. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Check out some of my other holiday ornament tutorials as well as other fun craft ideas. Okay, let's get started. Here are the supplies you'll need. You will need a magazine, or this is actually a catalog that came in the mail that I just decided to recycle. And we'll be using the pages from the magazine. And you'll need sharp scissors, and then to make my life easier, I'm using a paper cutter. This part is optional. I would highly recommend it because it does make cutting a lot easier and you'll be cutting a lot. And you'll need something to measure with. And then I'm going to be making a star. Please click on my downloadable link below to get the star pattern. So you'll need a copy of that and my glue gun set on low. And then this is a paper creasing tool. It's called a boning tool. This is completely optional. It does help keep your creases on your folds really nice and straight. You'll need some Mod Podge glue and a little brush to apply it with, and that's it. Okay, first step is to pull your pages apart. If you're using a big magazine, you might want to cut the spine off of the magazine. Otherwise, just pull all of your pages out and then we're going to cut them. So mine measured 8 inches across the bottom, and I'm going to cut it in half and then in half again. So I'll have 2 4-inch pieces, and you're cutting it lengthwise. And then I'm going to cut that in half again. So I'll be working with 2-inch pieces from my magazine. You can see why the paper cutter comes in really handy here. And so go ahead and cut all of your pages. And then you're going to start folding. So you're going to fold it in half lengthwise. So just directly in half. And make sure to line the edges up nicely. You want it as straight as possible. Now at this point, I like to grab my creasing tool and go along the edge just to make sure that that crease is nice and straight. And then you're going to open it up and fold each half towards the center. You'll want to make sure that your paper doesn't overlap in the center. Just line the edge right against the middle crease. And then once you have that folded, press your creases down firmly, and you might want to go over it with your creasing tool again. I found that the easiest way to make these was to just, after every fold, use my creasing tool to kind of straighten everything out. And then you're going to open it up and you're going to fold it towards the center again. So following those same steps. So in the end, we folded it in half and then opened it up and folded each half towards the center. And you open it up again and fold each half towards the center again. And you have this cool little strip of paper. And you're going to follow those steps with all of your papers. Now, I ended up making about 3 ornaments out of my little catalog that I got in the mail. So depending on how big your ornament's going to be, you'll kind of just need to gauge how many papers you'll need. You can always go back and fold more. So I started folding out quite a few and then started to make my ornament and then went back and folded more as I needed them. So when you're done, you'll have a big pile of paper that looks like this, and now we're going to start rolling it. So grab one of the ends and start to roll it up. You'll want to roll it tightly. I find that starting it's probably the trickiest part, because you want to make sure that it's starting to form a circle. And I also found it was easier to hold it with one finger, so I hold it between my thumb and my finger there, and then I wrap the paper around it and I kind of pull on the paper as I go to keep it straight. It might ripple a little bit, but you want to keep it as straight and as tight as possible. Now when we get to the end, we want to make sure that that little flap at the end isn't going to poke up. So I take my glue gun and put a little dab of glue to hold the end together and just pinch it, and then I line the end of the roll up with a little bit of glue and finish wrapping it around so it all stays in place and we have this cool little rolled circle. Now grab your pattern, and to determine how big you want your middle circle to be, lay your little circle down, and I like mine to meet at the edges. It seems to make it a lot easier to hold my ornament together. So I'll be putting one big circle of the paper in the center, and then I'll be putting smaller circles as you go out towards the points of the stars. You'll be referring back to your pattern as you go along to make sure everything's going to fit nicely. So now I'm going to add some more paper to my little circle. You want to make sure that the folds are all going the same way. So I have my crease at the bottom and then my two folded pieces, and I want to make sure that they're all lining up the same. So all of the creases should be facing the same direction. So my double fold should all be facing one side, and my single fold should all be facing another side. So take a little dab of glue, and right where you left off with your circle, line up your paper, and then you're just going to start rolling it again. And don't worry if it pokes up a little bit, it's totally fine because you're going to be wrapping right over that. So holding it tightly and wrapping with the same technique that we did when we started it out, you can see it just covers that part up and you don't need to worry about it, and just continue to wrap. And it's cool to see your circles starting to grow and to take shape, and it's fun to see all of the colors from the magazine. You'll notice that whatever colors were on the pages start to create a unique design with each circle and with each layer that you add. So try and make sure it doesn't ripple at all or fold. And once again, when you get to the end, take a little dab of glue, put it right in the middle of the crease so that it doesn't poke up, and then line the end of your paper with a little glue, and you're going to press it down and continue to add paper until you have a circle the size that you need to fit in the middle of your star. Now once that I have the circle the size that I want it, I refer back to my pattern, and you can see that the circle matches up to each edge of the star in the middle there. And now I'm going to create some smaller circles, and I want those to also fill in the inside of the star and touch the edges. So to fill in my star, I have a circle that used one piece of paper, and I decided I wanted it a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to add another full piece of paper. So I just cut one of my strips in half and added that to my circle, and it gave me the perfect shape to fill in that part of my star. And then I used the other half, so I just folded up a little half of one of my strips, and that also seemed to be the perfect shape to fill in the tip of my star. Now this is all going to depend on how tightly you wrap your paper, how tightly it was folded. So continue to create the circles to fill in your star until you have all of the points of your star filled in. Then you're going to take your strips and we're going to line the outside of the star. So my star pattern, each point of the star measures 2 inches, so I'm just going to create 2-inch folds on my strips of paper, and I fold them like you would fold an accordion, back and forth and back and forth. And I'm just going to overlap those to outline my star. I found that this way was the easiest way to create the outline for your star. You can also just hold the paper around the edges and kind of fold it as you go, matching it up to where it needs to fold. But to get a nice even star, this just seemed to be the easiest. So I've got my 2-inch little points there, and after folding all of my papers, I just line them up and overlap them. It's absolutely fine to overlap them. It actually makes the outside part of your star more sturdy. And now, before I put the outline of my star on, I'm just going to kind of tack my star together. Make sure you don't glue it to your pattern. I've done that. So just little tiny dabs of glue just to barely tack it into place. And once I have one of the tips of my star tacked together, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the outside part of the circle, and then I'm going to line it with the outside pieces of paper framing in the star. So just work slowly with one point of the star at a time and continue to add your strips of paper along the outside of your star. I find that by doing it on top of the pattern, it makes it a lot easier just to have that as a guide as you shape your star. And you can do any design that you like. I've seen really pretty birds, I've seen flowers. The key is to just have a nice pattern to go by. So this is what it will look like when it's all glued together. We want it to be a little bit more sturdy. So feel free to go back and tack any little spots that you feel like might need a little more glue, and then grab the Mod Podge, and you're going to put a nice coat of Mod Podge on the front and the back of your star, and make sure you get all of the little edges and in between all of the little spots. Don't worry if it's showing up right now. The Mod Podge will actually dry clear. I put 2 even layers of the Mod Podge on each side of my star. It makes it a lot sturdier, and then you'll let it dry overnight, and ta-da! This is your gorgeous ornament. It's really hard to believe that this gorgeous ornament that's colorful and just really pretty came from recycled magazines. I found that the basic shape of the star was the best one to start with, and then you can see I did this really pretty Christmas tree ornament. You can really do any shape that you like. And they just turned out so gorgeous, and they all turn out different, so unique. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments or questions, please post those below. Please check out some of my other holiday tutorials, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. If you enjoyed this video, click on the thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.